Good evening, and welcome to tonight's presentation from the Quarries, an archive of Masonic lore. Welcome to From the Quarries. I stumbled across tonight's work, The Secret Signs of the Rosicrucians, when I was researching the video The Secret Symbols of the Rosicrucians a few weeks ago. It was written by the well-known 19th and early 20th century esotericist Franz Hartmann. I don't know exactly when this paper was first published, but I do know that Hartmann was one of the early members of the Theosophical Society, as well as being a founder of the OTO. I think both of these facts give him a fair bit of street cred, at least in terms of late 19th century esotericism. I found it an enjoyable text to read, as much for what it doesn't say as for what it does. It's very clear, very lucid, and very easy to understand, and those facts in themselves are quite a rarity in the world of 19th century esotericism. I hope you enjoy it. Good evening, and welcome to tonight's presentation From the Quarries, an archive of Masonic lore. There are 16 signs by which a member of the Order of the Rosicrucians may be known. He who possesses only a few of those signs is not a member of a very high degree, for the true Rosicrucian possesses them all. 1. The Rosicrucian is patient. His first and most important victory is the conquest of his own self. It is the victory over the lion, who has bitterly injured some of the best followers of the Holy Cross. He is not to be vanquished by a fierce and inconsiderate attack made upon him, but he must be made to surrender to patience and fortitude. The true Rosicrucian tries to overcome his enemies by kindness, and those who hate him by gifts. He heaps not curses, but the burning fire of love upon their heads. He does not persecute his enemies with the sword or with faggots, but he suffers the weeds to grow with the wheat until they are both matured, when they will be separated by nature. 2. The Rosicrucian is kind. He never appears gloomy or melancholy, or with a scowl or sneer upon his face. He acts kindly and politely towards everybody, and is always ready to render assistance to others. Although he is different from the majority of other people, he still tries to accommodate himself to their ways, habits, and manners, as much as his dignity will permit. He is, therefore, an agreeable companion, and knows how to converse with the rich as well as with the poor, and to move among all classes of society so as to command their respect. For he has conquered the bear of vulgarity. 3. The Rosicrucian knows no envy. Before he is accepted into the order, he must go through the terrible ordeal of cutting off the head of the snake of envy, which is a very difficult labour, because the snake is sly and easily hides himself in some corner. The true Rosicrucian is always content with his lot, knowing that it is such as he deserves it to be. He never worries about the advantages or riches which others possess, but wishes always the best to everybody. He knows that he will obtain all he deserves, and he cares not if any other person possesses more than he. He expects no favours, but he distributes his favours without any partiality. 4. The Rosicrucian does not boast. He knows that man is nothing but an instrument in the hands of God, and that he can accomplish nothing by his own will, the latter being nothing but the will of God perverted in man. To God he gives all the praise, and to that which is mortal he gives all the blame. He is in no inordinate haste to accomplish a thing, but he waits until he receives his orders from the Master, who resides above and within. He is careful what he speaks about, and uses no unhallowed language. 5. The Rosicrucian is not vain. He proves thereby that there is something real in him, and that he is not like a blown-up bag filled with air. Applause or blame leaves him unaffected, nor does he feel aggrieved if he is contradicted or encounters contempt. He lives within himself and enjoys the beauties of his own inner world, but he never desires to show off his possessions, nor to pride himself on any spiritual gifts which he may have attained. The greater his gifts, the greater will be his modesty, and the more will he be willing to be obedient to the law. 6. The Rosicrucian is not disorderly. He always strives to do his duty and to act according to the order established by the law. He cares nothing for externalities, nor for ceremonies. The law is written within his heart, and therefore all his thoughts and acts are ruled by it. His respectability is not centered in his external experience, but in his real being, which may be compared to a root from which all his actions spring. The interior beauty of his soul is reflected upon his exterior, and stamps all his acts with its seal. The light existing in his heart may be perceived in the eye by an expert. It is the mirror of the divine image within. 7. The Rosicrucian is not ambitious. There is nothing more injurious to spiritual development and expansion of the soul than a narrow mind and a selfish character. The true Rosicrucian always cares much more for the welfare of others than for his own. He has no private or personal interest to defend or foster. He always seeks to do good, and he never avoids any opportunity which may present itself for that purpose. 8. The Rosicrucian is not irritable. It is evident that a person who works for the benefit of the whole will be hated by those whose personal advantages are not benefited thereby, because selfishness is opposed to magnanimity, and the claims of the few are not always compatible with the interests of the community. The Rosicrucian will therefore be often resisted by narrow-minded and short-sighted people. He will be slandered by calumniators. His motives will be misrepresented. He will be misjudged by the ignorant, ridiculed by the would-be wise, and taunted by the fool. All such proceedings, however, cannot excite or irritate the mind of the true Rosicrucian, nor disturb the divine harmony of his soul, for his faith rests on the perception and knowledge of the truth within himself. The opposition of 1,000 ignorant people will not induce him to desist from doing that which he knows to be noble and good, and he will do it even if it should involve the loss of his fortune or of his life. Being able and accustomed to direct his spiritual sight towards the divine, he cannot be deluded by the illusions of matter, but clings to the eternal reality. Being surrounded by angelic influences and listening to their voices, he is not affected by the noise made by the animals. He lives in the company of those noble beings who were once men like others, but who have become transfigured and who are now beyond the reach of the vulgar and low. 9. The Rosicrucian does not think evil of others. Those who think evil of others see merely the evil which exists within themselves, reflected and mirrored forth in others. The Rosicrucian is always willing to recognize everything which is good. Tolerance is a virtue by which the Rosicrucian is eminently distinguished from others, and by which he may be known. If a thing appears to be ambiguous, he suspends his judgment about it until he has investigated its nature. But as long as his judgment is not perfect, he is more inclined to form a good opinion than an evil one about everything. 10. The Rosicrucian loves justice. He, however, never sets himself up as a judge over the faults of others, nor does he wish to appear to be wise by censuring the mistakes of others. He does not enjoy gossip and cares no more about the foolishness committed by others than he would about the buzzing of a fly or the capers of a monkey. He finds no pleasure in listening to political or personal quarrels, disputations, or mutual recriminations. He cares nothing for the cunningness of a fox, the dissimulation of a crocodile, or the rapacity of a wolf, and is not amused by the stirring up of mud. His nobility of character lifts him up into a sphere far beyond all such trifles and absurdities, and, being above the sensual plane, wherein ordinary mortals find their happiness and enjoyment, he lives with those who do not think evil of each other, who do not rejoice about an injustice done to their brother, or make merry about his ignorance and enjoy his misfortunes. He enjoys the company of those who love the truth and who are surrounded by the peace and harmony of the Spirit. 11. The Rosicrucian loves the truth. There is no devil worse than falsehood and calumny. Ignorance is a non-entity, but falsehood is the substance of evil. The calumniator rejoices wherever he has found something upon which to base his lies and to make them grow like mountains. Opposed to it is the truth, it being a ray of light from the eternal foundation of good, which has the power to transform man into a divine being. The Rosicrucian seeks, therefore, no other light but the light of truth, and this light he does not enjoy alone, but in company of all who are good and filled with its divine majesty, whether they live on this earth or in the spiritual state, and he enjoys it above all with those who are persecuted, oppressed, and innocent, but who will be saved by the truth. 12. The Rosicrucian knows how to be silent. Those who are false do not love the truth. Those who are foolish do not love wisdom. The true Rosicrucian prefers to enjoy the company of those who can appreciate truth to that of those who would trample it with their feet. He will keep that which he knows locked up within his heart, for in silence is power. As a minister of state does not go about telling everybody the secrets of the king, so the Rosicrucian does not parade before the public the revelations made to him by the king within, who is nobler and wiser than all the earthly kings and princes, for they only rule by the authority and power derived from him. His secrecy ceases only when the king commands him to speak, for it is then not he who speaks, but the truth that is speaking through him. 13. The Rosicrucian believes that which he knows. He believes in the immutability of eternal law, and that every cause has a certain effect. He knows that the truth cannot lie, and that the promises made to him by the king will be fulfilled, if he does not himself hinder their fulfillment. He is, therefore, inaccessible to doubt or fear, and puts implicit confidence in the divine principle of truth, which has become alive and conscious within his heart. 14. The Rosicrucian's hope is firm. Spiritual hope is the certain conviction resulting from a knowledge of the law that the truths recognized by faith will grow and be fulfilled. It is the knowledge of the heart, and very different from the intellectual speculation of the reasoning brain. His faith rests upon the rock of direct perception and cannot be overthrown. He knows that in everything, however evil it may appear to be, there is a germ of good, and he hopes that in the course of evolution that germ will become developed, and thus evil be transformed into good. 15. The Rosicrucian cannot be vanquished by suffering. He knows that there is no light without shadow, no evil without some good, and that strength only grows by resistance. Having once recognized the existence of the divine principle within everything, external changes are to him of little importance and do not deserve great attention. His main object is to hold on to his spiritual possessions and not to lose the crown which he has gained in the battle of life. 16. The Rosicrucian will always remain a member of his society. Names are of little importance. The principle which presides over the Rosicrucian society is the truth, and he who knows the truth and follows it in practice is a member of the society over which the truth practices. If all names were changed and all languages altered, the truth would remain the same, and he who lives in the truth will live even if all the nations should pass away. These are the 16 signs of the true Rosicrucians, which have been revealed to a pilgrim by an angel who took away the heart of the pilgrim, leaving in its place a fiery coal, which is now incessantly burning and glowing with love of the universal brotherhood of humanity. For what we do presage is not in gross, for we are brethren of the Rosy Cross. We have the Mason word and second sight. Things for to come we can foretell aright. Welcome to From the Quarries. We had a very clear winner indeed in our recent poll for esoteric content to put on the channel. So tonight I'm delighted to present to you The Secret Symbols of the Rosicrucians, which was published between 1785 and 1788 by J.D.U. Eckhart. Not surprisingly, given the subject matter, this is an abstruse and fairly complex work published in 3 volumes. For tonight's video, I'll be using the translation in English published by the ancient and mystical order Rosicrucians, or Amorc, in America in the 1930s. I have included links to a full text version of all 3 volumes in the description below the video, so if you're interested in looking further and deeper, please feel free to look through the complete works. Tonight, however, I'll do an introduction to the 3 volumes of The Secret Symbols of the Rosicrucians, and then have a look in some more detail at some representative pages. I hope you enjoy it. Good evening, and welcome to tonight's presentation, From the Quarries, an archive of Masonic lore. In the year 1614, there appeared at Kassel, Germany, the discovery of the Brotherhood of the Worshipful Order of the Rosy Cross, containing the history, constitution, and laws of the order. This was followed in 1615 by the Confession of the Brotherhood of the Rosy Cross, giving 37 reasons for their existence, defining their objects and the means for attaining them. These two publications are generally referred to by their Latin titles, Fama Fraternitatis and Confessio Fraternitatis. This was the first time that this most hidden and secret order had issued anything officially over their name and seal. Innumerable works, both for and against them, began to appear all over Europe, and, for a time, a learned controversy of considerable violence raged. By the year 1630 or thereabouts, it subsided, and the succeeding years saw the appearance of numerous philosophical and alchemical works which implied Rose Cross affiliation, though they did not bear the imprimatur of the Right Worshipful Brotherhood itself. Among these were many illustrious names, and there is more than a suspicion that they are writing from the high ground of the Brotherhood of Adepts. There are many unpublished manuscripts in European libraries, and some in private hands, concerned with the problems of alchemy, professing to expose to the reader the most hidden secrets of the Stone of the Wise, the universal medicine, and the method of concocting the true tincture. These are written in the enigmatic language of allegory and symbolism, requiring a key to unlock their meaning. Many of these seem to have been intended for private circulation among students, and not for publication or public perusal. Some of the manuscripts are beautifully illustrated, with symbolic pictures and elaborate designs intending to instruct the initiated reader in the mysteries of occult philosophy. From the subsidence of the tides of controversy, there was complete silence, as far as the Brotherhood was concerned, until the year 1785, when the first part of a work appeared at Altona, Germany, bearing many guarantees of authenticity, and constituting a combination of supreme importance to Rosicrucian literature. A second part appeared in the year 1788, completing the work. It consisted of 36 coloured plates of folio size, each plate lettered closely in Latin and German, and 16 pages, double columns, of German text. This work is second only in importance to the original Fama and Confessio, and its value to the student would be difficult to estimate. It is concerned throughout with the secret teachings, philosophy, and praxis of the Brotherhood, expressed in allegory, signs, symbols, and mystery numbers. This is the language of the secret tradition, which may be understood only by those who have learned the meaning through experience and practice. To others, it may have nothing to say. The earlier documents were addressed to the learned everywhere, but the secret symbols is, by its very nature, a sealed book to all, except those who have made some progress on the way of the great quest, of what is variously called the Stone of the Wise, the Summum Bonum, and by many other names, or simply the Stone, implying thereby all that the word means in the language of the secret tradition. In its manifold representation of the subject from all aspects, it seeks to lead the student by enigmatic ways to a progressive initiation into the ineffable mysteries of God, man, and the universe. Combining astrology, the Holy Kabbalah, alchemy, the three principles of Jacob Boehme, the creation mystery of Genesis, the chariot of Ezekiel, the Logos philosophy and apocalyptic visions of St. John. This is the high altitude of spiritual alchemy, leading the way to spiritual regeneration and the renewal of life. The combined effect of these aspects of the secret tradition, brought together in one volume, staggers the imagination. One may truly find here a study for a lifetime, a very book of books for the curriculum of the House of the Holy Spirit. The secret symbols of the Rosicrucians claims on the title pages to be taken from an ancient manuscript and now published for the first time. This leads one to suppose that there was a single manuscript from which the published work was made. But upon examination, it is found that two of the alchemical treatises which are included in the work were printed previously, one in 1621, the other, presumably, in 1625. 30 of the 36 coloured plates, which form the most notable and important part of the book, are known to have existed previously in a unique manuscript produced sometime around the year 1700. The work in its original form, as published at Altona in 1785 to 1788, consists of 3 separate treatises: a long poem, 36 full-page coloured plates with 3 smaller ones in the text. An untitled track on the Philosopher's Stone occupies the first place, consisting of 4 pages of text and followed by 10 plates. After this appears a full-page plate of the Emerald Tablet of Hermes, together with the enigmatic inscription, and followed by a long explanatory poem, occupying 2 pages and arranged in double columns. Then follow the 4 pages of Metathanes' Golden Age Restored, and 13 plates. The third treatise, a golden treatise on the Philosopher's Stone, is the longest in the collection, occupies all of Part 2, consisting of 8 pages of text and 11 plates. The second and third treatises appeared in a Latin translation in the 3 editions of the Museum Hermeticum between 1625 and 1749. The German original of the Golden Age was printed in 1621, while a golden treatise, though nothing is known certainly concerning its first appearance in the original German, is believed to have been printed in 1625, the same year as the Latin text. It is barely possible that copies of the excessively rare and little-known books survived and came into the possession of the editor of the secret symbols. But it seems more likely that they too were handed down in manuscript and circulated among members of the Brotherhood, together with the symbolic illustrations. The private circulation of handwritten copies of books dealing with the secret teachings of the Brotherhood is a well-known practice, and many books have survived in this form and never were printed. As the second most important contribution to Rosicrucian literature, this is a work of outstanding importance in the literature of occultism, and merits close and careful study on the part of occult students of all orders. The teachings of the Rosicrucians of the 16th and 17th centuries, or a simple ABC booklet for young students, practicing daily in the School of the Holy Ghost, made clear to the eyes by pictorial figures for the exercises of the new year, in the natural and theological light, by a brother of the fraternity, Christi of the Rose Cross, for the first time made public. The full soul loatheth an honeycomb, but to the hungry soul every bitter thing is sweet. A scorner seeketh wisdom and findeth it not, but knowledge is easy unto him that understandeth. If a philosopher you wish to be, let only patience dwell in thee. Where on this globe lives a man so wise, who'll ever learn what 4 ones do comprise? And even if he'd know all this, he'd still always be an apprentice. Therefore, O human, with all thy might, recognize God and thyself in God's and nature's light. Both these lights God pours into thee, that a likeness of him thou mayest be. He is one 4-fold God, let thou be told, as thou art a piece of clay 4-fold. This maketh nature to thee well known, with wisdom, light, and understanding to thee it is shown. To nothing can thine eye be blind, be it of body or of mind. Therefore be thankful to thy God, who in time this before thee hast brought. Be thou not jealous of the scoffer's fame, do not begrudge every mocker's great name. With sophisticated vanity they strut, unbeknownst to them is what thou'st got. Be happy with what God to thee gave, defy that 4-in-1 they have. Fiat and Amen be my treasure, a 4-fold sphere, always together. Figurative image of how within this world 3 worlds in each other, namely this earthly sun world, and also the heavenly and the hellish world have their effects, and the darkness cannot conquer the light. It also shows the land of the dead, the entrance to hell or superficial darkness, where there is wailing and gnashing of teeth, as well as the land of the living. The heavenly paradise or 3rd heaven are from this world, and that the human being has in all these things in his heart heaven and hell, light and darkness, life and death. The harmonious conception of the light of nature, from which you can deduce the restoration and renovation of all things emblematic. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, saith the Lord. God liveth in a light, since no one can come to him or near him. The heavenly and earthly Eve, mother of all creatures in heaven and on earth, the star of kings from the Orient. God is an eternal, uncreated, infinite, supernatural, self-sustaining, heavenly and existing spirit, who hath become, in the course of nature and time, a visible bodily, mortal man. Nature is a created, natural, timely, definite, spiritual, existing and bodily spirit, an image, likeness and shadow, fashioned after the uncreated eternal spirit, hidden and yet visible. Hear, O my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of thy life shall be many. I have taught thee in the way of wisdom, I have led thee in the right paths. When thou goest, thy steps shall not be straitened, and when thou runnest, thou shalt not stumble. Take fast hold of instruction, and let her not go. Keep her, for she is thy life. Welcome to From the Quarries. I think tonight I might have suffered from a bit of overreach with the topic of the video, Rosicrucianism and Freemasonry. The publication of the 3 Rosicrucian manifestos in Germany between 1614 and 1616 has been a topic of fascination for me for as long as I can remember, at least 20 or 30 years. And I hubristically thought that it would be easy enough to toss off a video looking at the relationship between Rosicrucianism, specifically the manifestos, and Freemasonry. But of course, the more I read and the more I researched, the bigger the topic became, and I quickly realized it's just not possible to do justice to this topic in one video. So tonight I'll be presenting two short papers. The first is an introduction to the Rosicrucian manifestos for those who may not be too familiar with the topic, which was written by Gian Giuseppe Filippi. The copy I have of this paper is undated. The second section is an extract from a fascinating book called The Beginning of Masonry by Frank C. Higgins, which was published in 1916 and is entitled Rosicrucianism and Freemasonry. There is just so much more that I could cover on this topic, so please let me know in the comments if you'd like to hear more. I do have a fascinating work by Arthur Edward Waite giving the history of the Order of the Rosy and Golden Cross, which I think would make a great video, so let me know if you'd like to hear more. Anyway, here's tonight's video. I hope you enjoy it. Good evening and welcome to tonight's presentation From the Quarries, an archive of Masonic lore. In 1614, in Kassel, Wilhelm Wessel's printing house published a book in German, the Fama Fraternitatis. It tells the story of a friar called C.R., an impoverished nobleman and German monk who travelled to the Holy Land, heading first to Damascus with the intention of reaching Jerusalem. He fell ill in Damascus, where he became known for his ability in the medical art. He got in contact with local doctors, and after a while he lost interest in Jerusalem and begged them to take him to the town of Damkar. There he was generously welcomed by the wise men and doctors. In the story of the Fama, Damkar appears as if it were a republic of sages, a sort of utopia. However, its location is unclear. C.R. stayed there for 3 years, learning the wonders of the Book of Nature taught by the philosophers of Damkar. During his stay, he translated into German the mysterious Liber M, which later became the reference text for his followers. Once he was fully instructed, C.R. was sent to the city of Fez in Morocco, to a circle of wise men closely connected with those of Damkar. About this second stage of instruction, the Fama informs us that in Fez, C.R. refined his knowledge in magic, Kabbalah, medicine, and philosophy. What he learned from the sages of Fez was a superior Kabbalah, which he adopted to the Christian religion in a form more appropriate to its origins. In this manner, he learned a science that allowed him to understand and harmonize all the fields of knowledge. After 2 years, C.R. left for Spain. Here he exposed his knowledge to local scholars, but they were irreparably infected by the Catholic prejudices still following the teachings of Porphyry, Aristotle, and Galen. So he left for Germany. There he found true intellectuals who enthusiastically embraced his teachings and the content of the mysterious Liber M. In the beginning, 3 brothers joined C.R., and they all travelled the streets of Germany, bestowing the blessings of their knowledge. Their clothes did not distinguish them from other Germans. They introduced themselves as doctors, and they treated their patients free of charge. In addition, the Fama tells us that those first 4 brothers developed a magical written and spoken language in which they compiled a dictionary of all wisdom. They used to gather in a building called the Sancti Spiritus. After a few years, they doubled their number, and later on the organization counted 36 members. Their aim was to increase scientific knowledge in order to improve the living conditions of the time and, by performing prodigies, to change the antiquated mentality still prevailing in Europe. After the death of the first of the brothers, C.R. took care to build for himself a tomb in a secret place, full of allegorical meanings and filled with books and wonderful objects. C.R. predicted that for 120 years his tomb would remain concealed, but after that period of time, his successors should have started to interfere in European events, revealing their presence as an invisible college. The farmer goes on to describe the miraculous discovery of the tomb of C.R. in 1604. The description of the tomb is a lengthy allegory in which mathematical and geometrical symbols are associated to the presence of the library of the late founder, of the Liber M and the prodigious automata that was somewhere in between magic and mechanics. The conclusion of the libellus includes a utopian plan of magic, scientific, universal improvement. In a few words, a religion devoid of dogmas, rites, hierarchies, and which was inclusive of pagan, Kabbalistic, and alchemical wisdom. The following year, 1615, a second manifesto, published by the same printing house, appeared, this time written in Latin. This is known as the Confessio Fraternitatis, and it was obviously addressed to the educated classes. It comprises a series of statements of faith and descriptions of a universal plan of reformation, a reformation generically Protestant and therefore rooted mostly in the Old Testament. In fact, from the very beginning, Jehovah is invoked as Lord of the imminent Sabbath. However, this God, called by his Hebrew name, is intended as the guarantor of the becoming of nature, and through its phenomena he would manifest himself to the wise men, and through calamities he would punish the wicked. Since the appearance of the Fama Fraternitatis had been received with understandable hostility by the orthodox circles, the Confessio had a cautious outset, so that no one may accuse us of the slightest heresy, nor of following evil principles, nor of plotting against temporal power. We condemn the East and the West, the Pope and Muhammad, who are blasphemers of our Lord Jesus Christ, and we offer, with good faith, our prayers, our secrets, and our great golden treasures to the supreme head of the Roman Empire. What the meaning of the ambiguous formula supreme head of the Roman Empire is unclear. Why use the formula supreme head of the empire instead of the more common title of emperor? The answer to this question will be provided by examining the third and last manifesto. The content of the Confessio also lists the ideals that the reform plan should have implemented: religious tolerance among the various Protestant sects and Judaism, and the currents of free thought, benign use of magic, increased use of the sciences, especially mathematics and mechanics, support for the arts, particularly the allegorical and utopian ones, economic and social development for the well-being of all. All these innovations and discoveries were intended, above all, to create a change of mentality in order to erase all memory of the medieval ecumenical Europe. The document recommends the foundation of a free zone in Europe, that it should be governed only by wise men. In order to achieve this, it was necessary to spread the use of free, individualistic examination of the Bible, and thus freeing its reading from any magisterium. These first two manifestos explicitly invited all those who were interested in the magic, scientific reform of Europe, presented here as a new universal religion, to make contact with the brothers. The third document, The Chemical Wedding of Christian Rosenkreutz, appeared in Strasbourg in 1616, published anonymously like the two previous manifestos. In this work, the meaning of the different acronyms presented in the previous manifestos was for the first time revealed. The novel narrates the marriage of two princes, which Christian Rosicrucians would be invited to in their enchanted castle, a place full of magical wonders and animated mechanisms. The wedding ceremony lasted a week. Every day, Rosicrucians had to go through various experiences lavishly described by mysterious allegories, obscure symbols, and elusive theatrical performances. The intent was to represent the 7 steps of some not well-defined Hermetic Kabbalistic initiation. The week-long ceremonies ended with the ordination of Rosicrucians and the other guests as Knights of the Golden Stone Order. The arcane atmosphere of the Fama and the Confessio was immediately successful in the late Renaissance occult circles of Protestant Europe. Many personalities of the secular Protestant culture tried to get in touch with the mysterious members of the Fraternitatis. Since the manifestos did not indicate any contact details, the publishing houses were stormed. First and foremost, the Wilhelm Wessel House, which had published both the Fama and the Confessio. Subsequently, other publishing houses were also subject to urgent requests for contact. Since no one answered these demands, some of the seekers had the idea of publishing booklets by the very same printing houses with requests for admission to the Fraternitatis, or at least for an epistolatory contact. But all was in vain. As often happens in pseudo-initiatic environments, the lack of answers was not considered a reason, either of disappointment or of suspicion. Keeping their own origins mysterious, not revealing the name of the masters, concealing an overt doctrine behind abstruse symbols and allegories, invincibly attracts those who wish to be deceived. Everyone had referred to the enigmatic acronym CR until the book of the Chemical Wedding of Christian Rosicrucians appeared, and finally revealed the name of the founder and the title of the Fraternitatis Rosicruciana. After having recognized Christian Rosicrucians as brother CR, it will now be appropriate to give a more detached look at the Fama Fraternitatis. The main character went to the town of Damcar in Arabia, a name that does not exist in that region, where he was expected as a predestined pupil. There he learned magic, Kabbalah, medicine, and philosophy. He then moved to Fez, where another community of sages taught him a superior Kabbalah, which he later adapted to his Christian religion. The Confessio, for its part, confirms those data. Those who live in the city of Damcar of Arabia have a political and social order completely different from that of the other Arabs, a kind of order that CR should have exported to Europe. The masters belonged to those communities in Islamic lands, and their Rosicrucian Protestant disciples, they both practiced the art of medicine. They wore the clothes of the countries they visited, and not those that would have identified them as belonging to another community. In the Fama, the Kabbalah is mentioned 4 times and twice in the Confessio, and both manifestos speak ill of the Pope and Muhammad, calling them heretics and blasphemers. Therefore, it is quite evident that the Rosicrucians did not go to the East to receive the teachings from the Sufis. It is unknown what the meaning of the name Damcar is. What is certain is that between Damascus and Jerusalem there is the city of Safed. In the 16th century, the city was the seat of Kabbalistic Messianic school of Rabbi Isaac Luria. This closely relates to the mystical deviation of the ancient Jewish initiation created by Abulafia, and it is from this school that in the 17th century came the false messiah Shabbatai Sevi. The town of Safed obtained a wide autonomy from the Ottoman Empire. Even today, that city on the Lake Tiberias is considered the capital of the Messianic Apocalyptic Kabbalah. We frequently hear of an alleged connection between Freemasonry and so-called Rosicrucianism brotherhoods. In the course of the last couple of centuries, there have been many hundred claims set up to the title of Society or Fraternity of the Rosy Cross. Any brother who feels inclined to dip into the question of extinct Masonic rites and degrees, by a short course of Mackey's Masonic Encyclopedia, will be, if not already informed, astonished to find that all the Masonry we are officially aware of today is but a mere fragment of that has at one time or another figured as of impressive importance to the craft. In the archives of the Scottish Rite, there are preserved evidences of the voluntary abdications of a number of imposing Masonic rites that once enjoyed high favour and numerous membership, but which eventually dissolved under pressure of internal dissensions and the larger hope embodied in the rise of a body so constituted as to obviate the possibility of unbecoming strife and other weaknesses. At the present moment, the empty dignities and now meaningless powers of obsolete rites are occasionally heard of as passed from hand to hand for trifling money considerations, wherever a gull can be induced to believe that he is receiving high Masonic degrees, even though the same may be conferred upon him by a single individual, by virtue of the powers, etc., in a basement dining room or a hall bedroom. The chief significance that attaches itself to the revival of interest in Rosicrucians lies in the fact that, according to the strict spirit of the ancient brotherhood, there can be but one organisation in existence entitled to their name and secrets, and that organisation never had, nor, it is claimed, never will have, any public or exoteric existence. It is not the sort of club or society that has offices, holds public or even private meetings, and elects eligible persons to memberships. The true Rosicrucian may never meet another of his mystic order on the physical plane. He is not initiated in a hall or chapter room after having paid a fee, but it is made known to him by occult means that he has been found worthy of admission into this literal band of immortals, and thereafter he is shown how to project his perceptions onto a higher plane, upon which it is possible for him to meet, know, and commune with all his fellow members, who assemble like witches upon a Sabbath, in a twinkling of an eye, by merely willing to do so, no matter where their physical bodies may happen to be sojourning. In fact, the first public gossip concerning the Rosicrucians and their wonderful powers began to be bruited about at the beginning of the 17th century. Membership in the fraternity was attributed to various alchemists by the herd, and claimed by numerous charlatans on the other hand. Many tales are told of the discovery of weird underground vaults in otherwise desert places, which, upon being opened, were found to be brilliantly illuminated by perpetually burning lamps, that is to say, until extinguished by the admission of outer air. These were said to have been the secret meeting places of the Rosicrucians. From the very nature of Rosicrucianism as described, however, that of tradition must necessarily be spurious, as the mere fact of publicity, upon however private or restricted a scale, is sufficient to stamp it as such. The existence of Rosicrucianism might be claimed, and certain highly endowed scholars and scientists be suspected, nay, openly charged, with being members of its charmed circle, but no genuine record exists of any ancient Rosicrucian society upon which any theory of continuity might be based by a modern group of students of the occult. There is quite a successful modern Rosicrucian society in London, the moving spirit of which was the late Dr. Wynne Westcott, former coroner for the county of Middlesex. As a research body, disinterring many interesting legends about the reputed Rosicrucians of the Middle Ages, this latter-day society has done good work. It all sums up in the state of mind of the person most interested. An old Potsdam pensioner once wrote King Frederick the Great in much distress over the suppression of a military decoration, the only one he had ever received. The king smilingly wrote on the margin of the complaint, "Pensioner X has herewith our royal permission to wear all the abolished decorations he likes." Just as the evolutionary process through which all organic beings have arrived from lower forms to present high states of development may be traced in the structures of those beings themselves, so the structure of any mystical order claiming extraordinary antiquity will reveal the foundation of its claims to the student, irrespective of any personal contentions. Our own craft has hardly departed from the use of ancient monitors and lectures connecting Masonry with the beginnings of the human race: Adam, Seth, Enoch, Noah, Moses, and other patriarchs, which had become a laughingstock among our strenuous modernists. When it begins to transpire that the structure of Freemasonry is superior to her traditions, and that he who knows Masonry structurally will have no difficulty whatever in comprehending all these curious connections as apt and purposeful. When this knowledge becomes more common to the fraternity, we shall be in a position to understand the difference between that which guarantees the genuineness of our own antiquity and the claims that any mystical brotherhood may at present set up of surpassing age, royal descent, and the possession of the fundamental arcana of the universe, without the average Mason's being able to prove that his pretensions have any greater value than those of the newcomer. Welcome to From the Quarries. Tonight's presentation, The Rosicrucian Prayer to God, is an extract from a work by John Hayden. Hayden was born in 1629 and died in 1667, and he was an English Neoplatonist, philosopher, purported Rosicrucian, an astrologer, and an attorney. The extract comes from a work entitled The Holy Guide Leading to the Way of the Wonder of the World, Teaching the Knowledge of All Things Past, Present, and to Come. It was published in 1662, and I hope you enjoy this brief extract. Good evening, and welcome to tonight's presentation, From the Quarries, an archive of Masonic lore. The Rosicrucian Prayer to God. Jesus mihi omnia. O, thou art everywhere, and good of all. Whatever I do, remember, I beseech thee, that I am but dust, as a vapour sprung from earth, which even the smallest breath can scatter. Thou hast given me a soul, and laws to govern it. Let that eternal rule which thou did first appoint to sway man order me. Make me careful to point at thy glory in all my ways, and where I cannot rightly know thee, that not only my understanding, but my ignorance may honour thee. Thou art all that can be perfect. Thy revelation hath made me happy. Be not angry. O Divine One, O God, the Most High Creator, if it please thee, suffer these revealed secrets, thy gifts alone, not for my praise, but to thy glory to manifest themselves. I beseech thee, most gracious God, they may not fall into the hands of ignorant, envious persons, that cloud these truths to thy disgrace, saying they are not lawful to be published, because what God reveals is to be kept secret. But Rosicrucian philosophers lay up this secret in the bosom of God, which I have presumed to manifest clearly and plainly. I beseech the Trinity, it may be printed as I have written it, that the truth may no more be darkened with ambiguous language. O stream thyself into my soul, and flow it with thy grace, thy illumination, and thy revelation. Make me to depend on thee. Thou delightest that man should account thee as his king, and not hide what honey of knowledge he hath revealed. I cast myself as an honourer of thee at thy feet. O establish my confidence in thee, for thou art the foundation of all bounty, and canst not but be merciful, nor canst thou deceive the humbled soul that trusts thee. And because I cannot be defended by thee, unless I live after thy laws, keep me, O my soul sovereign, in the obedience of thy will, and that I wound not my conscience with vice, and hiding thy gifts and graces bestowed upon me. For this I know will destroy me within, and make thy illuminating spirit leave me. I am afraid that I have already infinitely swerved from the revelation of that divine guide which thou hast commanded to direct me to the truth. And for this I am sad, prostrate and penitent at the foot of thy throne. I appeal only to the abundance of thy remissions. O my God, I know it is a mystery beyond the vast soul's apprehension, and therefore deep enough for man to rest in safety. O thou being of beings, cause me to work myself to thee, and into the receiving arms of thy paternal mercies throw myself. For outward things I thank thee, and such as I have I give to others, in the name of the Trinity, freely and faithfully, without hindering anything of what was revealed to me, and experienced to be no diabolical delusion or dream, but the ejectamenta of thy richer graces. The minds and deprivation are both in thy hands. In what thou hast given me, I am content. Good God, ray thyself into my soul. Give me but a heart to please thee. I beg no more. Then thou hast given, and that to continue me, uncontentedly and unpitiedly honest. Save me from the devil, lusts, and men, and for those fond dotages of mortality, which would weigh down my soul to lowness and debauchment. Let it be my glory, planting in myself in a noble height above them, to condemn them. Take me from myself, and fill me but with thee. Sum up thy blessings in those two, that I may be rightly good and wise, and these, for thy eternal truth's sake, grant and make grateful. For a deep dive into the history, philosophy, and traditions of Freemasonry, subscribe to From the Quarries. You will find hundreds of lectures, presentations, shorts, and other Masonic works written by Freemasons for Freemasons. Visit FromTheQuarries.com or YouTube at From the Quarries.